Hey guys, welcome to another driving test video which took place at Hither Driving Test Center on Thursday the 21st of September 2023. Fortunately, this was a pass and a very good one with just two minor faults. Actually, examiner mentioned that this could have actually been a zero fault if there was no hesitation and situations that happened later on, which we're going to be watching in the video. So right, coming out of the test center now, they're now making their way out. So keep this in mind. If you're driving out of the test center on your test at Hither Green, make sure to keep left. People do get confused or actually just forget themselves because there are no lines on the floor, but you've got this thin line in front or a thin crack in the middle of the road. Use that as your reference. Keep left when you're coming out, and when you're going back in, keep to your left again. If there are parked cars in front of you ahead as you enter through the gate, examiner would obviously tell you to go around the cars, but make sure you come back to your left as you pass those cars or after you pass the cars. Don't stay in the right lane and continue straight up into the test center, because you might just end up meeting another vehicle on the bend, which becomes dangerous, obviously, because you won't see them coming until it's too late, and you guys would have to, brake suddenly, and they also wouldn't be able to see you because of that bend. People have failed because of that, so keep that in mind. Keep to your left, stay in your lane. If you're passing obstacles in front, come back into your lane whenever it is safe as soon as possible. And as usual, I'm gonna preach on again, guys. Please relax, relax, and relax. The test is actually not as difficult as you think. So don't let the fear of the examiner or the fear of even the test itself fail you. Trust me, most of the examiners, in fact 95, maybe I'll say 99% if I'm generous, but 95% of the examiners are actually very nice, and they're not intending to fail you. Even the ones that looks grumpy, trust me, if you don't do anything serious for them to fail you for, then you're more likely gonna pass. There are situations where you might feel they're strict on their markings, but everyone marks differently. I would easily remember that my teachers in school were never the same when it comes to marking. So just keep that in your mind and pretend you're in school. So if you want to get your full mark, then do all the possible things that you need to do and avoid things that you should not be doing. So the junction I just passed there, keep that in mind. Back a few years ago, people do forget to stop at a junction, but luckily it's been repainted, so you have no reason to go straight and forget that that giveaway line is there. So do bear that in mind. So they're going to be turning left here, and you've got the width restriction ahead as you turn left, so keep it in mind. Please slow down as much as possible. You'd rather approach speed restrictions too slow than too fast, because even if you feel confident about passing with restrictions, your examiner is not going to be as confident as you are, because they don't know what your driving is like. Especially in this case, you guys just drove off. It's only like under 5 minutes, so they really don't know how confident your driving is or how safe your driving is. So please remember, it's always better anyways when you reduce your speed as you approach with restrictions. That way, even if your examiner feels like you might be hitting the curb or touching the bollard, it would give them time to react, which means they would even give you more time before they react. That's number one. Then number two, if you do eventually hit the curb, it would be a very, very, very slow speed, so which eventually is what I would call you actually touching the curb rather than hitting the curb, which does make a lot of difference, because if you just touch the curb slightly as you turn or pass these situations, an examiner is more likely to ignore it and give you a minor fault in some cases, or no minor fault at all in other cases, which I have seen. So keep it in mind, reduce your speed. Same thing as you're approaching obstacles, deal with these situations accordingly. Don't get too carried away, focus on one single thing, or in other cases get too cautious or too worried in your fear that then you miss things ahead of you, or you fail to slow down when there is situations building up ahead of you. So keep that in mind. So yep, this is a pulling up on the left here, and remember, check your mirrors before you move off again. Check your blind spot, don't forget, especially when there are roads around you. There could be a car coming or passing by, or there could be a pedestrian walking off into the road from the pavement, which you might not see if you do not look over your shoulder. So keep this in mind when you're pulling up on the left or on the right. As at the time of this test, at the end of the road they're going to be entering is a 30 miles per hour road, which you would see on the board here. Now, keep in mind, if you're watching this and your test is going to be after this date, the road has now changed. The speed limit on this road they're coming into right now is now 20 miles an hour. If you're used to driving or doing your lessons on this road, don't get carried away and keep doing the old speed. The speed limit is now 20. In fact, most of the green test routes speed now is now 20 now. So yeah, keep that in mind. It's now 20 miles an hour, not 30 anymore. So don't get carried away. Now, the only place where you'll be able to do above that at the moment is probably if you go onto Western Avenue, which is 40, or if you go onto the A2, which is 50. But most tests will probably be around here anyways, you know, or going towards Catford. That's also 20 miles an hour as well. So yeah, Bromley Road is 30. I'm not aware if that's changed as well, but if there is any update on that, if I drive around that, I'll post that up as well. So just keep in mind, by the time you're going back again onto those roads, if you haven't been there yet, then you notice that the 20 sign is already up. So keep it in mind. Remember that as you come out of this bend ahead, the road is going to split up into 3 lanes. So if you're continuing straight, then you want to keep to the left as the bus lane ends here so that you can end up on the left lane, or you can also end up in the middle lane. Depends on what the traffic is like. Remember that if there is so much traffic on the left, or there is bus parked up on the left at the bus stop, then there will be no point going behind that bus. Just use the right lane. Just use the middle lane if the middle lane is open or empty. But other than that, yeah, just use either of the two depending on the situation or the traffic condition. But if you're turning right, then you want to make sure keep to the right so that you're in the right lane when you get to the traffic light to turn. Now keep in mind, this road can get very narrow depending on who's beside you as well. Some drivers can be very careless, so be aware of your surroundings, and remember that as you pass the light, the two lanes merges back into a single lane. So be aware of who's beside you and know what they're doing. So if you need to make progress and merge in turns. Sometimes someone might be trying to run past you, which is why you need to know what's going on beside you. So make progress and merge. If someone is trying to be competitive, you know what to do. Give way if you have to. Just be safe, but don't be too timid. Don't be too scared that you're now slowing down, waiting for people behind you to come and merge in front of you. So keep that in mind. So as you can see here, they're coming through the light, and there we go. We got a red car beside, just on the right, but he's kept on making progress, which is good. So red car slows down and he goes through. But if he had continued reducing speed there, then that would give the red driver an opportunity to just increase speed and cut you off. So be confident about dealing with situations like this so that you know when to ease off and give way, and when to actually make progress and, you know, continue through. So all these roads are all still 20 and only changes to 30 at the traffic lights ahead. So keep that in mind. Now, if you're going straight at this light, then you're going towards Yorkshire Grey roundabout, which is where they went. But if you're turning right, then you're going to be turning towards Clifton's roundabout. So if you haven't done this roundabout or you're not confident with any of this roundabout, I'd suggest you drive there and practice. So right now they're in the middle lane. Now keep in mind, if you're going straight, it is okay, you can use the left or the middle lane to continue straight, but remember that your left is your normal driving lane. So whenever you've got the opportunity, remember to use the left lane if that option is there. Now the middle lane goes straight ahead, but you can also use this middle lane to turn right. So if you find yourself in the middle lane and you're supposed to be turning right, as you can see on the floor marking there, you can also turn right using that middle lane, but make sure you don't cut too early until you actually get into the middle, which is at this point, to turn so that you end up in the left lane. If you turn too early and you straddle into the right lane, you might end up getting a serious fault, of course, especially if there are cars on your right in the right lane. So keep this in mind. Be careful when you've got two lanes turning to the same direction. Make sure you maintain your lane as you turn. So here they're coming to Yorkshire Grey, and at this roundabout is where they got the first minor fault, which was for undue hesitation. So let's get to the roundabout and see what happened there. Now, if you're not used to Yorkshire Grey roundabout, it's not a normal circle. It's like an oval shape, and that makes it difficult. So you've got cars coming from your right, so there's an exit to your shoulder, and then those coming out from ahead, you can't really tell when they are going out or whether they are actually going out or not, and that makes this roundabout confusing, and I don't like it. I'm okay with it, but I'm just worried about learners coming through this roundabout. So as you can see here, white car is turning, and this is not a problem. Of course, first time is always better. You just miss the first one if you're not so sure. So here the black car is coming out, and that was an opportunity. The second one is going out as well, so is the red car. So those three cars were three different opportunities that he could have gone through, but the learner hesitated and waited. Now again, we can see two more cars. Now keep in mind, learn to identify blockers when the opportunity comes through and you can see those vehicles are blocking the exit or the entrance to the roundabout on your right. That gives you an opportunity to go through. But again, I'm happy the examiner didn't give a serious fault here, because this roundabout is complicated sometimes, especially for learners. Even for experienced drivers, it can be a little bit intimidating because of the way the roundabout is. Now, as the driver exited the roundabout, he got the second minor fault because of the bus parked up ahead. Now, if you're looking ahead and planning ahead already as you exit the roundabout, if you're actually looking into the road you're going into, you should have seen the bus from this point. But regardless, if you did not and you end up changing lane to the left lane, as you get to the end of the road there where the exits start, you would have seen that bus there, and it would have been expected that you probably just keep to your right and just pass the bus. So as you can see right here from this point, you clearly now can see the bus. Check mirror, signal right, and change. And the car behind us also at this point was still also in the left lane, giving you enough time, safe gap, and the opportunity to change. But he did not. So it was actually starting to reduce speed, and the examiner came in and said just go around the bus and continue. So eventually he would have gone to the bus, stopped there, and then realized the hazard light was on and then move on, which could have been avoided if planning ahead. So this was the second minor fault. So keep it in mind. You're coming out of a roundabout, you've done your mirror check, you've signaled left, you're now exiting. Look ahead into the road so that if there was to be any developing situation ahead or even any hazards ahead, then you can start thinking about it and what to do. So yep, at this point they're now at Clifton's roundabout. Some people do fail here because you're looking to your right as you enter the roundabout, and then you end up going straight without actually steering left a little bit to maintain your lane. So people end up straddling lanes, sitting over the left and then the right lane as you go into, the left and the middle lane as you go into the roundabout. So keep this in mind. Stop if you have to stop and do your check, but obviously do your quick glance just as you're coming to a stop, so that if there's a safe opportunity, you can just go through it. But there was no problem here. As you can see, everything was fine and they continued. So that was really the two faults on this driving test. Now remember that the first minor fault in a different situation, another examiner could have actually let you continue with your intention. And if you are not lucky and you're actually not realizing that that bus had the hazard light on and you sat there, then you could eventually get a serious fault if the examiner had to remind you or bring you awareness to the fact that that was a hazard light on. So keep this in mind, and that would still have been a serious fault for planning and awareness. But this is where, you know, good driving always comes in. I feel like an examiner is more likely to prompt you in situations like this if you're driving for the past few, maybe 20 minutes or 30 minutes of your driving has been very good. You've shown good confidence, you've shown good driving. Then in that case, it is more easier for you to get benefits of doubts, you know, where I just say to you, yeah, just go around that and ignore it. You know, this is a normal, natural thing that anyone would do. But if your driving was already very shady, not confident, and, you know, with so much doubt and fear all along, I would be interested to know what you would do there. So I'm more likely to just leave you and see what you do. So this is why it's very important to be confident when you're doing what you do or when you're doing your test. Stay calm, feel, relaxed. Even though if you have to act, try. I don't know how that's gonna work, but stay calm. It's not as serious as you make it seem. Just relax and try and focus on the road. So keep this in mind. And that was really it. So let's continue. So luckily right here, as you can see, they are now doing pulling up on the right, which they will be reversing 2 car length after he pulls up. Now if you get this on your test, that means you're not going to be doing parking, and that's lucky you. But remember, you can easily fail for this as well if you're not relaxed, or if you don't pull up on the right properly and you end up sitting more on the road rather than towards the pavement or the curb. So yeah, make sure that you're doing good observations as you reverse. Pay attention to what's happening on the pavement. If there are pedestrians coming towards your car, when they get to a certain point, I don't know, work with your examiner on this. Stop and let them go through, especially on narrow pavement where pedestrians are going to be closer to your vehicle, and be more careful if there are kids or even pets with them. Other thing to keep in mind are cars passing you on your left. So remember that if a car's coming towards you, when they get close, say maybe about where the red car is right now, the car's coming towards you, I will probably stop at that point and let that car pass, and as they pass you, you can continue. Now same thing with a car coming from your back. Now especially when there are cars parked up on the left hand side, those cars are going to push towards the middle of the road, which is going to keep them closer to your car. Now when you're reversing at this point, especially when you're not looking that way, obviously you're not going to be aware of their positioning or what they're doing. So it's better and safer to just hold up, let them pass, and then continue. But remember, don't see something far ahead of you and then just start waiting when they're still far away. You got to walk with your instructor and find out when would be a good position. But I mean, if you're relaxed enough, common sense would kick in. You know when something is too far that you can still continue. Keep an eye on it. When they get close enough, stop, and when they pass, then continue. So yeah, don't fail for pulling up on the right. I've never had someone fail for that. Please don't do that. It is very easy. It is a very lucky thing if you get this on your test, and you wouldn't have to do parking, especially if you're someone who finds parking very difficult. So yeah. Now, this was a very good planning ahead in this meeting situation here. As you can see, driver passes the cars on the left, comes back into the left lane, waiting while continuing for the car approaching ahead. Now, the minute he realizes that car is pulling up into the bay on the left, he comes back out immediately, committing himself into the space so that if any car was to approach now, he would be already committed and they would be giving him way. Now, this was a very good plan here. So keep this in mind. Work on your meeting situation. Don't be intimidated. Try and commit yourself safely whenever an opportunity arises so that you don't have to keep stopping for the whole country to pass. So at this point, they are turning left and then left straight into the test center, which comes to the end of this test. Now, keep in mind when you're coming into the test center, I repeat this again. Sometimes when you come in, as you pass the gate, there will be parked cars ahead during busy times waiting for the test to go in because you can't go in until 10 minutes or so before you test. So you'll be asked to go around them. So make sure when you come around them, come back into the left so that you don't meet a car at the edge of the bend here, because you wouldn't see them coming and they wouldn't be able to see you as well, which could be dangerous. So keep that in mind. Don't go into the right to pass the parked cars and you stay on the right for too long than necessary. Keep that in mind. Get past them, come back into your lane and continue. So yep, that was the end of this test, and it was a very good drive as you would have seen. But keep in mind, I always do say confidence on your test is very important, because when you start so confidently at the beginning, your first 10 minutes is very important, and when you drive well at that first 10 minutes, you literally set a good tone for the rest of the test, and you help yourself make the examiner feel relaxed, that you know what, they can recline their seat so back and chill, and that way you can then stay calm and have a peace, and they might even do less of the mirror checks here and there because they can see that you've got control. If your examiner is constantly looking at the mirrors and looking all around, I often do say it's not a good thing, because that means that they feel like whatever it is you're doing is not being done well, or perhaps is not enough, that they have to keep checking ahead just to make sure that they see something that you might just miss, or to make sure that they're prepared to take action in certain situations. So don't forget, guys, like the video, share if you can, and if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, don't forget to click the subscribe button. And a big shout out goes to Tankri Chen for contributing £5 to the channel using the super thanks button. And if you would also like to contribute to the channel, then look below the video. There is a super thanks button right there, and you can click there and contribute anything. £1, £2, every little helps. It takes a lot of time to create the videos, and your contribution would definitely be appreciated. So once again, thank you, Tankri Chen. Well appreciated, and I'm glad that you have passed. So best of luck with your driving lessons, and most of all the best with your driving test. Don't forget, guys, stay calm. You can do it. It is not a big deal, trust me. It's easier said than done, but it has been done already many times and it's been proven. Just stay calm, and I'll see you in the next video. Stay blessed. Peace.